Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sid's Foodcast, the food podcast, where me and my guests would talk about food, our love for food, and everything in the name of food. This is your host, Sid, and welcome to the show. For today's episode, I have Jayson, where we talked about home cooking, his relationship to Ilocano food, and cooking as a love language. I hope you enjoy the episode. What was your last meal before the podcast?
Um, so last night I had siopao.
Your last meal was last night?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I have very irregular eating patterns. Like during the pandemic, I find it so hard to sleep. So I usually fall asleep around 2 to 3 a.m. Um, I was applying for a master's program. So from April to June, that was I think the height of the bad sleeping pattern. I was sleeping around 5 to 6 most of the time. Thus, I'll wake up at around 10 and check my phone. If there's something urgent that I have to do for the office, I'll do it. If wala, I'll go to sleep again. So usually like late lunches na yung meals ko. And yesterday, so I cooked pasta at around 2 or 3, and then my sister came from the hospital, and she had like plastic bags of laksa and Chinese food. Eh
Aksa.
parang sobrang wrong timing na, was medyo half full na ako, and I didn't want to not eat my pasta naman. So I didn't eat na like what she had.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I woke up at night, because I fell asleep after, parang I didn't want a full meal, but I knew I was hungry. So I went down and saw siopao. So I had siopao, and then I made myself lemon, ginger, honey Yakult.
Ooh,
And,
okay. Okay.
and then I ordered like some artisanal gelato a week ago, and they had this. I ordered 4 flavors, so it had strawberry cheesecake, PBJ, chunky Malty, which is like Ovaltine. How you remember your choco
Ovaltine.
drink? If you're
Mhm.
from the lower middle class,
You'll have Ovaltine.
Ovaltine and slash Milo. Yung Ovaltine na mas maraming tubig kesa sa Ovaltine. So that ice cream tasted like Ovaltine. It's not like fancy chocolate kind of gelato. It's more of like how it tasted when I was a child, with lots of swirls of thick Ovaltine Milo kind of thing. So parang it was very nostalgic for me. So yun, my last meal was siopao,
Siopao.
ice cream, and
Is this siopao 7-Eleven siopao? Because I love
no,
7-Eleven.
it's I don't know where my sister got it, but
Mm.
it's supposed to be from a restaurant in Manila.
Oh,
She
okay.
got the laksa there also, so I'm assuming it's a Chinese Southeast Asian
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Oh,
For
okay.
lunch today, so I'll eat lunch after this. I'm reheating uh, laing, which I ordered also from a good friend and our former moderator from the Debate Society. Which is funny, like this entire pandemic, I've just been ordering food.
Mhm.
So my standards are, first, does it look good? Because
Mhm.
like you can see naman if it's just Instagram good, or
Yeah,
like they paid proper respect for the
definitely.
cooking
And I
process.
have beef with Instagram food.
Same. Same. So yun. I think my money this quarantine was spent largely on food. It's a coping mechanism for a lot of people, and I recognize my privilege to be able to do that. Like
Mhm.
most people cannot be choosy with the food that they eat. I recognize that I have the capacity and the purchasing
For
power
sure.
to be able to do that. So I'm eating laing. It's from my debate moderator. So I buy from people that I think the food was prepared very respectfully. Second, I buy from people that I know can cook properly. So, like for example, there are friends who've started selling, but not like public selling. But I just know that they're preparing and that they make like slightly large batches. And parang, do you still have this? Do you want to order? Parang ganun yung conversations. And sometimes like I send food out to friends also.
Friends, for sure.
Yeah. So this one, well, the third is like I just try to support as many of the friends that I know
Friends
of,
and local businesses as well.
local businesses,
Mhm.
and then I try to talk about them if I really like the food. Because even if I buy from local businesses, if I don't like the food, I don't want other people to like uh, buy and then sisihin nila ako if they didn't
Yeah.
like the food.
Because you
So I
got clout,
only
man. Well, yeah, I guess your opinions do matter in a certain extent. I guess like just for me. Yeah, for me. I mean,
thank you.
um, uh, there was just a lot of things going on with I guess your refrigerator or your pantry that I would
Yeah.
assume that would not have in a ordinary Filipino pantry. Like you mentioned laksa, gelato, and what else? The Ovaltine of the childhood
I
Ovaltine,
think yeah.
and then you had the siopaw. It's like, dude, like you have an interesting pantry. I guess like with your leftovers as well. Like, man, I have. I don't have it.
We're a very traditional Ilocano family though. So um
Don't you guys have good food? Ilocano, they have like they also really
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Oh right, right. The
yeah.
bagnets and the I'm so uncultured. I only know bagnet.
But
Oh wait.
from where I'm from, it's not called bagnet.
Oh
That's
really?
bagnet is more of Ilocos terminology. Uh, from where I'm from, it's called chicharon.
Ooh,
So like
okay.
I'm in the north na, as in like
Okay.
Marcos is a hero north.
Oh god. It's like way north, you know.
Yeah, way north.
Okay.
And butawag dito, we really like our bagoong. So uh, in the kitchen we have like a entire, like the old movies
Ooh,
na
okay.
nag-iigib yung mga tao ng tubig,
Mm,
yung malalaking galon. We
mm-hmm.
have um, like super big
Galon
gallons of
of
galon
bagoong.
of bagoong.
Oh my god.
Uh,
I want to eat in your um
and like a big container then of Ilocano suka.
oh my god.
So
And I guess this is just me coming from a place na my dad is from Luzon, he's from Bicol. My mom is from Cebu. And I lived in Cebu. I was born in Cebu and then I continued my studies in Manila. And then wait, I continued until college and I finished college in Cebu. So basically I'm not I'm not like I'm too Tagalog for Cebuano people, and I'm too Cebuano for Manila
Cebuano for
people. Yeah, so I'm like really like in between. Like I don't know where I'm at, but I guess like I I love my humba, I love my lechon, but my favorite food is sinigang, and a lot of people don't like sinigang in Cebu. If you don't know that, Cebuano people don't like sour stuff, which is apparently so weird for me, but really like even my wife is from Cebu and I've talked a lot with Cebuano people in the podcast. Like they always say Cebuano just like salty, sweet and never sour. That's why there's a dish in Cebu called nilatan na baboy, which is and then they considered it's basically like sinigang but not sour. It's it's porky broth. It has everything, but it's like instead of the talong, you have the cabbage. But basically, it's like a sinigang, and they would say it's a sinigang is panus, meaning panis na nilatan. Like, ate, what's this? This is this is panis na nilatan. So they into that point na they don't even know what sinigang is. Like obviously, if you go outside like the mainstream restaurants like the Jerry's Grill or whatever it is, like the Filipino, like they would serve it, but not in the carinderia, not in the streets. You're not gonna find kare kare. You're not gonna find sinigang in that local, carinderia. And then, but for my case, I had those Tagalog meals at home. And so I'm like weird, like, oh, I it was already in college that I knew that what you guys don't like sinigang. Like that's weird because like I grew up eating sinigang, and then apparently Cebuano people don't like sinigang. And that also goes with a lot of Tagalog food, like you mentioned about a lot of Ilocano food, like the bagoong. Yeah, I love bagoong. I love a lot of Tagalog dishes as well that I do not have, and my wife doesn't enjoy as well. She doesn't even like kare kare. Like I'm not dissing. I love my wife, but she doesn't like kare kare. She doesn't like sinigang. Like oh my god, like I love those things.
I
But
don't like
yeah.
kare kare most of the time.
Oh really? Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
But
one.
when my mom makes it, like I'll make an exception. Because
Yeah.
I don't like kare kare that's peanut butter. I don't like kare kare that's sweet. And
Oh.
I'm very picky with bagoong alamang with the
Mhm.
kare kare.
Oh.
So I've seen like lots of recipes na parang okay, fresh peanut butter, and I'm like, alright. Sige. And
One
I've
thing.
had friends then who said na parang, okay, my mom's kare-kare is really good. And I'm like, unang tikim ko pa lang. So, kapag kare-kare yung sinaserve, like, I'll just get a small scoop of the sauce and the bagoong. Tapos kapag unang tikim ko pa lang, it's more sweet than nutty. I'm like, okay, I'll go back home.
um, and one thing that for sure that's interesting talaga with Tagalog food, obviously not just Ilocos because I don't really know a lot about it, was that this just it's something that's really really savory, and there's a lot of savory to the point it has explored not the baboy savory. It has like different levels of savoriness that I am not exposed to when it comes to Cebuano food. When we have the humba, and then that's the only thing that obviously because like and then that's the only thing that I have on top of my head, and then everything is just like really soup based pork like that, and then obviously the lechon, but that's a different type of category. But when I say savory, like the adobo, the binagongang pork, the those types of dishes that really really interesting for me. But you cook definitely a lot of variety of dishes, and I'm going to your Instagram right now. I'm doing this section where I'm going through everyone's Instagram. Is your Instagram public? Can I say the handle? Yeah, it's at Jayson Maulit. And just tell me just a really brief comment about what you have posted. So I'm gonna go dig deep into it. Just tell me about the food, the memory of it, the stories behind of this dish or this post, and then yeah. So I have a post of September 8th, 2017. The 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 quote is, "Of course I died," and I see ngoyong. This is in Maxwell Hotel Cebu. There's a lot of lechon, and there's a ngoyong, and there's puso, and there's a person who has a gray jacket for some reason. Any thoughts about that?
Okay, so I just want to say that Maxwell Lechon is like levels below real Cebu Lechon. Pero the first time I had Cebu Lechon was Maxwell. And
Okay. So you had a bad introduction of
No. I mean, like, if you ask the Philippine debate community, Maxwell Lechon is their idea of how good Cebu Lechon is.
Okay.
And Cebu Lechon, like, light years away from Manila lechon in terms of
For sure.
goodness and being savory. So Maxwell, uh, whenever we visit Cebu, we always go to Maxwell for the lechon. There was one tournament I was with a friend. The moment we landed, diretso na kami sa Maxwell. And then we went to the
No.
hotel. Yeah, we
Okay.
went to the hotel. And then I fell asleep for 2 hours. I woke up, wala siya sa hotel room. Apparently, he went back to Maxwell's and ate lechon again. And then, so I fell asleep again after 2 hours, like just an hour before the Adj exam thing for a tournament. I asked him if he wanted to eat. And I said, like, actually, nagkikrave pa rin ako ng Maxwell lechon because I just had 1/4 kilo for myself. And then he said, parang, okay, I can do Maxwell again. So parang within a span of 5 hours, he went back to Maxwell like 3 times. And I
Oh
was
my
so
God.
concerned he was gonna die.
Yeah.
in that
Cholesterol
tournament.
levels are all time
Yeah.
high. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
my idea of how good Cebu lechon is was because like debate friends introduced me to Maxwell. I've
Okay.
only had my first time I ate kasi in Cebu, the first time I had Cebu lechon was CNT.
Mm-hmm. There's like
And
OG
I remember,
lechon. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I remember we had like there were 4 or 5 of us, and we ordered 3 kilos. But halfway through, I was like, "Wait, lang, am I gonna die?" Because like the world was spinning, and this was the time when like a strong earthquake hit Cebu.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
we like when we looked at the street, yung gawad ng kuryente, the cables were like dancing, and then people in the streets were running, and we were like, okay, earthquake, so takbo na kami. So hindi na namin naubos yung lechon, di ba? But I had like subtle differences between Manila lechon and Cebu lechon at the time. When I had Maxwell's lechon, I was like, okay, this is significantly better than CNT. And then I had Zubuchon because Anthony Bourdain said like it was the best pork in the world, and I was like, when I had it, I was
Not really.
significantly disappointed, and I was
Yeah,
like,
I'm not a fan of
parang
lechon.
it's not. It's like it's a no. And then like friends from Manila were raving about Rico's lechon, and I was like, okay, baka maybe Rico's lechon was significantly better than CNT and Zubuchon, but I still preferred Maxwell because it had like just a different ano ba? Parang sumuot yung leeks and chilies and garlic, and I just like eating with my hands doon. And it had the feeling na I was eating somewhere most people don't know.
Right.
And I don't like fads kasi na parang, okay, this one's so good. Like it, I just don't like.
Cause like for me, I've never had Maxwell lechon, and I've always seen Maxwell Hotel. I've never been inside Maxwell Hotel. I didn't even know that they had lechon. So
I think it's the original lechon belly. Brand.
Oh, is it the original Cebu lechon belly?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've tried that. I've tried.
But for Filipino debaters, it's the Maxwell lechon because.
Okay. Yeah.
So every time we go to Cebu, that's the meal that I look forward to most. And then in 2019, I was the communications head for a senatorial campaign, and we did a Cebu leg. And so we started in the city, and then we went. Basta the last destination was Karkar.
Because with the Karkar lechon, yeah.
Yeah, and so like we were at the market just giving flyers, so everyone was loud, festive. We had Chel Jokno, Hilbay, Samira Guto, and all I could think of was, kailan pa tayo kakain? Kailan pa tayo? Because I could see the lechon, and I was like my principal was just ahead of me.
Mhm.
And ino-offeran siya ng mga lechon, like everyone, mga tindera. Ako kumukuha, tapos ako'y kumakain ng, ng mga lechon. And I'm like, so Maxwell was, to me, God tier level na of lechon. When I had Karkar lechon, I was like, man, Maxwell is shit compared to
Yes.
Karkar lechon.
Yes, for sure. Karkar lechon is really, really different. And then it's not as widely available as a city because you
Yeah.
definitely have to go to Karkar unless like you know somebody from Karkar and that's like 2 hours away from the city.
Yeah.
But definitely I agree with you. Cebu lechon belly from Maxwell, that's in I guess in Axis, Escario Street. Really, really good. I always pick the spicy. I like spicy.
Yeah.
lechon. But I want to ask really quick before I move on to your next post. Have you ever had tried the kimchi chon?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Okay. I don't know why, but I've talked to a Korean friend. I've talked to multiple friends in Cebu. I always ask, have they tried kimchi chon? And they have never tried it. But it's basically kimchi infused in the lechon.
Ah,
So it's not
wow.
a side dish, but kimchi was infused by lechon, and I've tried it. It was a family gathering by Korean missionaries, and then they fused kimchi and lechon together. And then I've I've only had it twice. It was so good, and I've never tried it again. I was like 16 years old, and I was looking for it, and apparently it's not a thing. Maybe I was dreaming. I don't know. I was hallucinating. No, but I don't know. I was
Wait,
just
ilista
checking.
ko siya.
Yeah, kimchi chon. It's
And when I buy my oven, I'll probably cook this.
because it's the savoriness, the fat of the lechon with combination with the kimchi. It's like,
Yeah.
oh god, I don't know if it was real or not because everyone's saying they haven't tried it. I know for sure I've tried it because it was so good. But anyways, yeah, just had to check on that. Okay, April 19, 2017. So like really, really way back. But I think you'll remember this. It says your first attempt to cook Mickey, a childhood fave, pueds na.
Hold on.
Do you can you recall that memory? I don't know if I went really way back.
Okay, so this isn't even like legit Mickey. So Mickey is an Ilocano dish. So I was born in Ilocos, and
I did not know that.
I was born in Ilocos. I was born from a family of farmers. So like growing up, it was a. I just knew that we weren't rich growing up, but in Ilocos, kasi like everything is in the backyard. You want meat, you have native chickens, you have vegetables, you have everything. Like our national dish in Ilocos is pinakbet, so like all the veggies there. Miki is our noodle dish. So it's fresh pasta, and then it's fresh noodles, and it's just like water and flour. But I think the flour is infused with rice flour, so there are proportions between ordinary flour and rice flour, and then you dry it out. When I was young, as in like everything was made by hand, even the cutting and then the drying. Right now, like the lolas will have pasta makers now to make their lives easier. So basically, Miki was just you throw the Miki in the pot of like stock, a native chicken stock, and then the achuete is what gives it the vibrant orange color. It has to have eggs. It has to have Ilocano garlic. So my like the simplest Mickey dish for me was what my great grandmother made, because we didn't have money for a lot of food. They had to make it because that significantly cheapens the prices, diba? So it's just garlic, native chicken, and then Mickey and achuete. When I was when my great grandmother got sick, so I took a sem off from college. and wanted to be the grandson na kasama sa
Mm-hmm.
hospital. So I was with my lola and then my because my immediate family like my dad, my uncles, they all migrated na since early 2000s. Like we migrated to Manila by 1990s, but we always go back to Ilocos. So
Mm-hmm.
parang laging ano, like you, I'm
Back
here
and
and
forth.
there. I'm
Mm-hmm.
yeah. To me, like good food is always Ilocos over Manila growing up. So this version of Mickey was what I had near my uncle's dorm in Ilocos. So what they did was the stock was made not from native chicken, but the bones of the bagnet. So like
Oh,
whenever they cut
oh God.
whenever they cut um, the pig, like the bones, kasi diba, it's supposed to be belly,
Mm-hmm.
but they butcher like entire pigs, so they have lots of bones. So the soup is basically made from that, and then when they make uh, bagnet, like portions of the fat will disintegrate from
Mm-hmm.
the finished product, and that's what they make to top
Oh my God.
the what tawag dito? The Mickey. So
That's
this was what I attempted when I did this. It was more of pork based than chicken based. I like the last time I made Mickey was I think 2019 after my brother's wedding. So we had my aunts from mother's side brought Mickey from Ilocos, and we had leftover lechon. So the stock was made of lechon, and then I
oh
had
my God.
pork bones also. I added chicken feet because I wanted the stock to be slightly thick. Uh, and yeah, that was an amazing meeting. Parang,
That's oh my God. That sounds so good, man. And then the innovation using lechon and then chicken feet together.
yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my God. And wow, I got that from your Instagram post. That's really interesting because I wanted the main thing that I really want to talk about is um, when I look at your posts and when I see how you talk about food, it um, it's very obviously there's you get to see food critics and you get to see famous people talk about food. You know, the Erwin Husafs, the Mark Weens, and all those people. Um, what I get from you is this sense of not necessarily it's definitely informative, but it feels really kind of heartfelt. Maybe because you are cooking that said food. I noticed like you post more of your own food rather than you would see a lot of people posting food from restaurants or posting food from maybe their friends or maybe a gathering, and maybe I get from that, and then that really intrigued me because I guess that's just me coming from a foodie, and maybe I I I would peg you as a foodie as well, and I wanted to talk about your relationship with food. I guess you mentioned about before that you cooking food was some sort of a stress reliever. For me, I do not have the same. I don't know. Do you cook these dishes? Do you have someone to share it with when you cook?
Well, here in the house, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Yeah.
like pre pandemic, whenever I cook food, I would invite friends over.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes we'd have big dinners here,
All
or
right.
sometimes like my friends would host meals, and I would be like, "Do you want me to bring food, or do you want me to cook there?" And they'd be, "You can just cook here," because I like it better when I serve it like
Yes.
mainit pa.
Oh. Yeah, and then yeah, that's really interesting because ako, for me, I love food so much. I have this disconnect of a love for food, consuming a lot of food content with my actual cooking. I consume a
Uh,
lot of food content, but not the actual cook. So I cook a lot when I have my wife with me or if I have family. But most of the time, they're busy with work and they have like this and that. I don't necessarily cook much for myself. I guess that's for everyone too. But um, yeah, I'm really interested with you because yeah, just how you talk about food so much and how you make there's like this great kind of bridge with your skill with the type of content you do because for me I can rave about food, I can describe food from different cultures and all of that. I love the history with food, but not necessarily my skills when it comes to food. But maybe I want to start first with your thoughts with food as with food eh, food and the relationship that you have with food. Let's start with that discussion.
So I started cooking when I was technically I started cooking when I was 5. So we were local migrants. So we were from Ilocos, and my dad and mom had me young. So we migrated to Manila so that my dad can work here and finish his studies here. And I could remember that, like, the earliest memories I have of Manila was uh, we didn't have much meat, or that I don't like the food. I didn't like the food like we had at that time. So um, I was telling my mom I didn't want to eat dinner because I didn't like the food, and my mom was, if you want a different dish, you have to make it by yourself.
Oh, at age 5?
5,
Okay.
yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I remember my first dish was pork chop, and um, it's just like toyo and calamansi. I don't know how I was able to match the ingredients. Obviously, I didn't fry it. She helped me fry the what do you call this, the pork. But basically, I think that was my first act of rebellion, uh, cooking. And like, my life has a really interesting relationship with food because um, we didn't have fancy meals growing up with my parents, but for some reason, whenever my grandfather would go to Manila, that would mean like good food. We'd go to like a Chinese restaurant in Quiapo, and then we'd go to his hotel in Binondo. I'd have good food, like every time my grandfather's there, we'd have good food, boxes of crabs,
Ooh.
fresh produce from Ilocos, or like bagnet, mga ganon. And so, like, growing up, I just wanted, like, good food to me meant being transported somewhere else. Like, because our social reality was we were poor, good food meant like we weren't poor during that
Mm-hmm.
meal. So when Anthony Bourdain died, like, I wrote uh, something for him. It was like cooking shows, like in cooking shows growing up, that I was able to first travel and to, like, just see like the
You were a
world.
big fan of cooking shows, like
Yeah, I
Anthony
mean,
Bourdain. Okay.
Anthony Bourdain, but like even before Anthony Bourdain, I was watching Chiara De Laurentiis, Ina Garten, basically lots of Southeast Asian
Mm-hmm.
cuisines, and then um, debating happened, and so, like, I had the opportunity to go around Asia and other countries outside Asia. Um, it's the food that I remember the most in traveling, because it's literally taking in another person's culture. And, like, when we talk about the food, we talk about, like, we associate it with a lot of memories. And parang growing up lang, I just felt that food is very central to many relationships,
Yes, for sure.
family relationships, community relationships. It's always associated with food. So parang um, my exploration with it happened because I wanted to be transported to somewhere different from where I was. And second, because I was able to travel because of debating, I wanted to always remember how it felt like. So Like, some people, they play musical instruments when they hear,
Mm-hmm.
like when they hear the song, they could most
Remember.
likely remember
Mm-hmm.
it even without the notes. My thing with food is that if I taste it, I can probably identify the basic elements and
Ooh,
do something remotely close to it.
nuanced
Uh,
palette.
so parang, um, that's the only guide that I have in cooking. How I remember, what's the memory like, how I want to present it after. After the 2019 elections, I traveled in the Visayas, so I did a Negros trip, and I had notes of every dish that I had. So when I came back after almost a month, I hosted dinner here at the house and just like recreated some of the best dishes that I had during the trip. The best for me was still bacolod inasal,
I've
and
never tried that. Oh my god, I wanted to try. I
like
wanted to go to Bacolod.
after eating at Aidas in Bacolod, which I think is still one of the more overrated mainstream
Mhm.
uh, inasal houses there, because some of my friends in Bacolod tell me na parang when you go to the smaller, more tago
Mom
places,
and
they're
pop shops.
significantly better than Aidas. Pero grabe yung cooking technique. Like my first inasal was almost burnt because I wasn't like looking at the temperature of the coals and the height of the. So parang okay. So it takes a lot of skill to do this.
For
So that's
sure.
my like huge respect uh, for food. So when I cook now, it's always first, what kind of memory do I want to spark? Or second, what's food that challenges me? So for example, the first time I made nasi lemak and beef rendang, it was purely out of the I wanted to explore how the memories in Southeast Asia and Malaysia, debating tournaments, and I just missed debating tournaments at that time that I was campaigning. So parang I can't join anything.
Mhm.
I just want to eat. Yeah. I've never had like real U.S. chowder, but at some point, parang if you go through the Instagram, like I had a post about chowder, and I'm like, I
Powder
just
is
want like
good.
something creamy
Comforting.
and
It's comforting. It's makes you lazy.
yeah. But like some recipes had it na purely cream and then cheese based lang. I liked how Ina Garten infused tomatoes into it and tomato paste. So
Okay.
parang ako, okay, I followed the recipes. So it was tomato paste and milk cream based
Oh, yeah.
also.
Oh man, Jason, I want to process everything that you said. That was really, really insightful, and hopefully, people who are listening right now, this is really, really valuable information. If you are a foodie, if you have a restaurant, I guess this is coming from a person who eats food. If the sparking of one's memory is really, really something that you wanna kind of encapsulate when it comes to cooking food. So whether it's like an adobo or whether it's like a sinigang or something as common as like a tapsilog, try to if you try to make it as best way as you can, I guess they would remember a certain memory,
Yeah.
of their lola, of their whatever, of their ex-boyfriend who made it for them, if they, so it says that they would care enough that they actually remember something about it. So memories for sure. Again, there's of course there's a lot of things that we could associate with memories, like music, and I don't know, like a place.
Yeah.
But I guess like for you and also for me, food triggers a lot of memories, good or bad. So for sure. um So I guess that could be a gauge for sure, if it triggers a memory. And another thing is, I guess, how well thought of when it comes to food. Some people just think of food as, as nutrition or something, just like sustenance, and then they would rather um, kind of reminisce a certain memory in a different way. Like for people, they like to take pictures. People would like to, I don't know, remember a certain song, or I don't know, something else. But for me, I I associate these memories with food. Um, Another thing, for sure, with the that I got from what you were saying earlier was traveling, and
Yeah.
how it's something that's um, it's something that you can definitely get, not just from pictures, cultures, landmarks, but with food, because food is an extension of the culture. It actually, again, like I want to quote the previous episode, where my friend Gino, when we talked about food and spirituality, food is an extension of the history, of the culture, of a certain psyche of a dish, or of a country. That's why we compare countries with melting pots, or like, Kennedy compared U.S. as a salad bowl, or the history behind the Buddha jjigae, of the struggle that they had. So if you want to understand a, s- a certain culture, a certain country, you can also get that from food. I'm not really sure with, obviously, we have history with our adobo. We have history with the sisig. Thanks to Irwin Yusuf, I learned that the history of the sisig. Um, 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 Again, there's a lot of it. Sometimes it's because of poverty, or maybe because of again, there's a lot of interesting stories on why we came up with these dishes. In the that said episode, I talked about Air de la Royale, about this meat dish that the king of France couldn't eat because he doesn't have any teeth, so he needs to eat something meaty, but he can eat without like his set of teeth. So really, really understanding the history and culture. And I guess you traveled extensively, just like what you said. um I don't know if you agree with this, but for me, I actually travel for the food. Other people
Mhm.
travel for the landmarks, the history, the culture. I don't know. What else do they travel for? Shopping. They travel.
Instagram.
They travel for the Instagram, the spots. My wife really travels for the culture and all that. But for me, I decide where I want to go because I want to try their food.
Yeah.
Do you
Same.
agree
Same.
as well?
Same.
Like,
Same.
yeah, because like for me, oh, I want to go to Mexico. Oh, why? Because I want to try mole. Or oh, I want to go to Turkey because I want to try their street food. That's the thing that pops
Same.
into my head. So I want
Same.
to go
Same.
to Singapore because I want to try this. I want to try the Hainanese chicken rice. Those. That's, I guess, like, I don't know if some people are not like that. Like, but for me, maybe for foodies like us, I like definitely, you know, uh, I travel, and we both travel for the food.
And I think parang authentic food tells you a lot of stories. Parang even authenticity is a questionable concept na. Kasi like for example, Lebanese migrants making al pastor with the ingredients that they have,
Yes.
is that authentic or not authentic? I
Hmm.
would say that food, while it comes from a traditional position, uh, like you can create new meanings,
Hmm.
and
The
like
fusion foods and
fusion, take the recipe and make it culturally, or in the same way that adobo is very, uh, we have very different um, adobo recipes here in the Philippines. One of my
even
life's,
contested.
ano, yeah, one of my
Mhm.
life's, parang dreams, goals is to make a cookbook just based on adobo. because to me that's I still haven't decided if it's my favorite food, Filipino food, but I think it's the most important Filipino food because it's quick, it's very, it can be well preserved because of the vinegar. Almost all Filipino households have memories attached to
Adobo.
adobo. So, like, I wrote a paper in moral theology in college about the pedagogy. Like, the reading was the pedagogy of the oppressed by Freire, but I couldn't think of anything except food. So I made a critique of the lechon. uh, so, parang in that paper, I said like our concept of national identity um, being formed by food is even elitist in nature because our national dish is a very elitist dish. The lechon is not accessible.
Right.
1 kilo here in Manila is around 700, 800. You can't lechon like just a part of it. That's inihaw na baboy na, diba? But like for like lower middle class, lower class, they don't access lechon. And even if they can access lechon, um, they can't access the entirety of the lechon.
Right.
And even if they can't access the entirety of the lechon, they can't access it every day. The way that a national food should be eaten, like kimchi for Koreans,
Right.
nasi lemak for Malaysians.
Fuck, I haven't thought about it that way. That's really interesting, man.
It's a dish for the upper class. But if you look at adobo, everyone can access it. You have adobong manok for those who don't eat pork. You have chicken pork adobo. You have atay.
Dobong
You have
puti.
adobong kangkong.
Dobong pusit.
Adobong pusit. So like everyone can access adobo. So like feeling ko talaga it should be the national dish, should be the most important Filipino dish compared to sinigang.
Well, right now for me, I still think my all-time favorite Filipino food is sinigang.
Yeah.
But maybe because it's really there's a lot of associated memories of it. I'm not really being technical about like it tastes really good, but I just have good memories with sinigang. And yeah, it's really interesting. I like your take with the lechon. Right, right. It's something that it's not accessible right away for the masses, and even if it is, you can have it like I don't know once a year, I guess.
Yeah.
And so there's like, and yeah, that's an interesting take, man. Um, uh, just uh, I wanna maybe just the last portion of my discussion is really how do you kind of for people who are home cooks like me and
And me.
yeah and you I've seen people who really put a lot of effort to it. I've seen a lot really and they really go beyond with the preparation with the ingredients and where they get their ingredients. But I usually get these from people who can afford, maybe they're like really really rich, and then and for people who are middle class or upper or lower middle class, it's something that's maybe you don't see a nasi lemak in their um in their like I don't know home cooking. They would think of a kare kare or something like that. But I assume I just assume that it's not maybe as educated, like it's not really as widespread to the knowledge of hey, I can actually cook this and it's not that expensive. When we think of pasta, oh no, it's like fancy dish, like oh that's going to be super expensive. But um I guess you can always find a way for that one. And I've seen a lot of dishes that you've made. It's the pasta you made. Hold on. I think there's one you made katsudon, and what else? Yeah. So you tried a lot of home meals that are not necessarily home meals, if you get what I'm trying to say. Like, you would think of these meals as you get it in a restaurant, but you make it work, man. You make it work. Like, you kind of find the ingredients, I guess, that are more accessible, that hey, you can say, hey, you can actually buy this and it's not that expensive. Do you have any like tips for these people like who want to explore but they think, oh, that's gonna be expensive? Steak, oh, that's gonna be expensive, but or pasta, that's gonna be expensive. What do you think? What are your thoughts about that?
Um, my my first tip would be like for everyone who cooks at home. I hope you know your market very well, like your wet market. You know where it is. You know what it offers because there's a lot of like treasures in wet markets here in the Philippines. To be fair, like our meat is cheap as compared to other countries. Our veggies also. Uh, like if you're planning on making international cuisines, obviously there are tastes that are connected only to the ingredients that they have. For example, the base of katsudon is the dashi, which I made with kelp and bonito flakes. But we have a Japanese store here in the village. But um, I hope you explored your market well enough and like have a basic understanding of where the flavors are founded on. For example, toyo, sugar, ginger.
Mhm.
I haven't tried, but maybe I'd use dilis as part of the dashi stock if I didn't have like bonito flakes or kelp. No. The second, I have a very different view of authenticity. It doesn't have to follow the exact like recipe from the place of origin. One of the things about cooking and cooking for yourself and like what expands the skills of a home cook is the ability to use the ingredients available. So most of the time I work with my givens. I don't have ponzu citrus. I'd use Ilocano suka. I don't have batawag dito. I don't have batuan. I'd use ginger and some palok mix because meron siyang, like it changes the sourness of the sinigang. Um, I don't have light soy. I dilute dark like silver swan with a bit of water, if not Sprite. So it just like it doesn't have to be how it is in historical recipe books because while food comes from an origin and they have stories, I think we are participants in the writing of food storylines as well. So, for example, my great grandmother would probably smack me if she found out I used lechon and chicken feet and celeries and carrots in making the Mickey stock. But that's my interpretation of it. And like that's what's available. That like it worked for me. That's my ownership of the cuisine. So to me, I cook food because I want to relieve the stories I have with it. I want to be reminded, but more importantly, I want to have ownership of that food. Um, when we made the bopis buns, um, the best memory of bopis to me was when I was in the Visayas also because I'm very picky with bopis because it's pork lungs and pork heart and like innards, so it smells if you don't cook it properly. My idea of it is always with rice. Um, but my ownership of the recipe is when we
The
put it in the
buns.
buns,
That's
in the
really
buns,
interesting.
and
Oh my
like
god.
I made my own coconut cream with chilies and cilantro for it. It's not Filipino. That's not how Filipinos make
Mm-hmm.
coffees. But part of what makes cuisine like eternal and food eternal is the ability to push it to its boundaries.
And you made it
So
really, really interesting as well, right? Because like even if you make a nasi lemak or I don't know, or a nasi goreng or whatever it is, you can make a variation of it. I mean, you can make your own variant from the ingredients, and
Yeah.
just like I got what you were saying was it sparked a memory. We're not really rich at all, but my mom and my dad worked in Japan, and she incorporated a lot of Japanese dishes in our home using Filipino ingredients. Then I remember because maybe just like you have made a lot of international dishes. Definitely I have a memory of Japanese koroke. I don't know if you guys know that one, but basically it's like a potato like with it's a ball that's like has a lot of potato and meat in it, and it's covered with um panko bread,
Mango. Yeah.
but then it's curry. The potato is I know like it's spicy, and it's so
Yeah.
good, and we have that for snacks. Like we bring that in school, and like what the hell is this? It is just so good. And then I don't know how my mom made that. She would make Mongolian bowls using the leftover tocino.
Yeah. Right.
What else? She makes hamburger. I forgot. Wait, it's our hamburger steak, but in Japan they use ketchup apparently, but it ketchup and soy sauce. She makes that one, but using
Tonkatsu sauce.
yeah,
Yeah.
making that one and making it work. That I remember that one from what you were saying. This is really really interesting, and I guess just to add on what you said in the latter part was pushing boundaries. I guess what you're doing, Jason, is really actually creating a new dish. Like it's not just like, oh, this is my own version of
Yeah.
said international dish. Oh, it's my own version of Bopis. No, like you created something new. I guess if you really wanna push it to the limit, like you made Bopis but with in buns, and you have to maybe figure out a new name for it.
Yeah.
Dude, like this is really really insightful for me, really really interesting with what you talked about. um yeah, I guess that's my takeaway from it. um there's just a lot of things that guess I would like to talk to you about. Like I really am enjoying this discussion with it, because my previous discussions were really just about they were into some certain dish. I remembered I have a coffee episode with Bea Chu TV. If you don't know her, she's the one who the viral TikTok with the sound. So yeah,
The one with
yeah,
ayusin mo yung headphones
uh
mo.
yeah. So she has a we solely talked about coffee, and then I had another discussion um with other guests with just a certain type of dish. But with you, Jason, I can't really have a certain point that I can have like, oh, this is what we're gonna talk about, because what you've done so far with just your home cooking, there's just a lot going on. You make a lot of these dishes, a lot in a good way, not in a bad way, but it's just like I can't
I agree with you. Like when I cook, it's all over the place. So
I can't condense the episode into just one solitary topic, because there's just a lot of things that I want to talk about with your work with home cooking, and um, really it's something that I really appreciate. But maybe for this last question that I have before we end this podcast is, if you could have any meal, any dish that you can have right now. You're not gonna have. What are you supposed to have today? What are you gonna eat?
laing. Yeah, spicy
Laing. So let's
pinakbet.
imagine
Yeah.
like you're not gonna have laing. If you could have anything right now, it's either you've never tried it or it's something that you have tried and you want to have it right now. What would it be and why?
In a heartbeat, that's gonna be Ilocano pinakbet. As
Okay.
in, like legit Ilocano pinakbet. Like the veggies should come from Ilocos because our eggplants are very thin. Our okras are colored yellow, not green. Our tomatoes are the closest to heirloom tomatoes, so like they burst with liquid and color when they combine with the bagoong. Um, to me, Ilocano pinakbet is basically like a meal I would never trade for anything fancy. Like if it's offered, like if I have the most expensive steak with me, and like in the other option is Ilocano pinakbet with the best veggies and probably bagnet toppings, I'd choose the pinakbet anytime because it's just so like I think it's a dish that I can eat every day for the rest of my life and not even feel bad that I'm eating it again. Uh, it just has so many memories. It has so many flavors. It just speaks of who I am as a
Yeah, I guess it kind of is. It resembles who you are, I guess, as well, right? And I always like asking this question, but because I always have the most interesting of answers, right? Yeah. So Ilocano pinakbet, something that I would probably would want to have. I've only been to the Ilocos region once. It was a short trip. I've been to La Union and then went
That's
to.
not even Ilocano. Joke! Like, if you have listeners from La Union. Ilocanos are the most regionalistic people, according to Agoncillo. But like,
So there's B.
because
Is there B?
it's more Tagalog than, like, their pinakbet is more Tagalog than Ilocano. Ilocano pinakbet doesn't have kalabasa, doesn't have squash, doesn't have onions, definitely. Uh, it doesn't have bagoong alamang.
Okay.
It has to be like bagoong
Okay.
isda.
That's good. We'll say it on the record. Jayson said La Union is not Ilocos. Okay.
No. I mean, like, there are varying degrees of being Ilocano.
Okay. But I've been to the. Is vegan? You would consider
Vegan is the
borderline.
Instagram Ilocano
Ilocos.
food.
Okay. Then maybe I just kind of just touched.
You've gone to
surface
vegan.
level. Yeah, I've been to vegan. I've been.
Have you tried the vegan the Ilocano empanada in vegan?
Yeah, I did. I liked it. I like it.
So
I tried Ilocano empanada in other places too, but
in the far north, it's it's different because in vegan, like, it's light orange.
Yeah, it's a light orange. It's really big though, a little bit big. Yeah.
In the far north, it's bright orange. The fillings are different because in vegan it's cabbage, but in the far north it's papaya and munggo.
Oof, papaya! Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god! Okay, I definitely need to go back.
It's very different. Yeah.
Oh my god! I
miss
yes.
Ilocano empanada.
Yes,
and the thing about Ilocano food din kasi, why I chose pinakbet din, is when you go to Ilocos, especially Ilocos Norte, and you ask people where's the best restaurant to get authentic Filipino, like Ilocano food, they'll laugh at you because they'll think that you weren't special enough for someone to invite you to their house for good Filipino, like Ilocano food. So to me, there's no restaurant in the far north that can serve authentic Ilocano food, as authentic as the farmers who butcher their own pigs and like create community kitchens so they can cook different dishes with old maids and grandmas and aunties who clean the veggies and make their own pinakbet. So talagang, really, to me, like, it's the best Ilocano food is in the kitchen, not in a restaurant.
And I guess no one has covered like an in-depth. I don't know. Maybe I haven't searched. I know people obviously covered vegan and other places, but maybe Ilocano food in general, no one has really covered it.
Meron naman. Like I read something about the. I think it's just
like an article about it.
Esquire yata, about the difference between Ilocano food and Ilocano cuisine. Apparently, Ilocanos love, like, if there's a defining taste for Ilocanos, it's the bitterness. It's the only cuisine in the Philippines that love bitterness. So you have pinapaitan, sinanglaw. Even our pinakbet is largely bitter because of the small ampalayas that we use that are extremely flavorful. So yeah, Pataldito. That's the defining taste.
Oh my god. Yeah, that is Jayson, and that is his choice. If he could have anything, is Ilocano pinakbet. All right. Thank you so much, Jayson. Do you have
That's
anything that you want to plug or you want to put on blast for people who are listening?
Nothing.
Okay.
I know. If you're in the Philippines, we've started accepting voters registration again.
People should go register.
People should register and vote by 2022.
Yes. All right. Hold on. Let me stop the recording.